Welcome back to your coverage here at the EUWCQ live in Utrecht. So all throughout this weekend we have loads of exciting coverage for you with the 32 players in Europe who have the most world qualifying points. They're going to be taking part in a 5-round of Swiss and a top 4 cut tournament to see which of them is going to be making their way all the way to Tokyo for the World Championships in August, dueling people from all over the world. The first and second place duelists will both be going to Worlds. But then between the third and fourth place duelists, only one of them will be making their way to Tokyo for that tournament. And we get to bring you every single one of those matches in our coverage. So here we go.
Welcome back, duelists. This is an absolute treat. We are currently finding ourselves in the Worlds playoff.
Yes, 32 of the best players in Europe have worked so hard for an entire year, and also the 16 best players of the 2019 season have been invited to compete here for free spots at the World Championship 2023 in Japan.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, for us, it's a real treat as the casters.
Yeah.
We get to watch like some of the best Yu-Gi-Oh players from Europe playing.
It's like we already start with the top cut of Euros, basically. So we already have like the best on Friday now immediately. And yeah, so they have really prepared hard. And one of the players that we are going to feature here in round number 1 has come up with a pretty interesting deck choice. I'm not gonna say that's very common, but let's see what he brought. We have 2 players from France playing it out here in round number 1. Let's go over to the table.
It is Brice Dodelier versus Gabriel Susi, and Brice, of course, he brought the Dark World strategy, which is absolutely crazy for this tournament. And Gabriel brought Runic for Hire, and also Gabriel already attended the World Championships.
Oh, that's true. He was in the finals of a European Championship. That's how he qualified for the World Championship. And he won the diary roll, and therefore he's able to start. And that's such an advantage versus Dark World, to be honest, because if Dark World gets a chance to go first, you're already in a pretty big disadvantage. But now Gabriel gets to start it off with his Runic plays.
Interestingly, I mean, I love the pick of Dark World. It's just so like, it's so crazy, it's so headstrong, it's so like, I know what I'm doing, you know? Because one of the powerful things about the Runic for Hire deck is that it draws a bunch of cards.
Yes.
But if you're going to draw like 6 cards on your opponent's turn, they go, so what? You know, I'm going to play out my whole deck on my first turn. You can have all the cards you want in your hand.
Absolutely. So we see, of course, Gabriel also including the Sprite cards into his deck, going for Sprite Blue, searching out the Sprite Red, and I think the Sprite Red is also quickly going to find its way onto the field. There it is. So he makes himself safe from potential interactions such as Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring or Effect Veiler or something. To be fair, that is not something that Dark World is known for. In checking the deck list of Brice Dodelier, it doesn't look like he would run any of that.
Do we think Gabriel knows what Brice is playing, given that they're both
It's kind of
French?
interesting here, right? Because they are both French, as you say, so probably they in some way prepared together even. So I think it's fair to say that they do know, yeah.
So, I mean, if he knows, he obviously will know that they're in... Yeah, it's very, very rare for Dark World to be playing things like Ash Blossom and whatever else. You normally play things that you can use on your own turn, like Kaijus and Lava Golems and such.
Yeah. And I think Gabriel basically had the perfect opening here because he has access to all of his engines. We also see the Rex being summoned there, being searched out by Fossil Dick, and now grabbing the Rookie for Hire from his deck. So he's well off here in the first round of Swiss, and this round is really important.
Yeah,
Yes, it's round number 1. You would think, it's a warm-up, but no, it's not. It's actually super important because if you lose here, 5 rounds of Swiss with a top cut of 4 players only means that round 1 could already be the deciding round for you, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be a very nervous, you know, if you lose the first round, even if you win the next 4, there's a chance you might not make it into the top 4. So this is all to play for right from the get-go.
Yep. Huge pressure, and we see Gabriel is summoning out Rafale, and Rafale will be able to reveal a couple of cards from his deck, and it's going to be Nibiru and Fossilic. So he has the decision here. Do we grab more engine with Fossilic, having an additional Rex to search out, or do we go for the Nibiru?
I mean, Nibiru, if he does not take Nibiru here, it is kind of an indicator for me that he does not know what he's playing against, because there will be a point in which you are going to be able to use Nibiru against the Dark World strategy. There are so many special summons. Also, the deck is really, really strong going second. Basti and I had a little discussion about this before, where Basti kind of disagreed against me, or with me. But I think that using the dangers, so many Bigfoots and all those big monsters, it is really strong. Once you get through the interruptions of your opponent, you have a really good time.
Yeah, the thing is, the Dark World itself, the engine itself, is so big. In a Dark World deck, you basically play like 30 Dark World cards, or cards that are related to the deck, like the dangers that are somewhat related. So you don't really have space to fit in non-engine cards, such as Dark Ruler No More, or Evenly Matched. Those are very popular. Also, we saw Gabriel discarding the Dark Ruler No More in his opening hand there. And I think that makes it really tough, because that Dark Ruler just takes care of everything at once, and that... You were saying Danger Bigfoot, for example, it just takes care of one card. And we are seeing that Gabriel is preparing a really, really big field here, so I'm not really sure whether that's amazing.
Does Brice run some outs in his extra deck, or in his main deck even, for big monsters that are special summoned via IP Masquerena?
There are Kaijus in his main deck, yes.
Oh, there are Kaijus.
There are 2 Radiants in there, so that would be a pretty cool answer.
One of the funny things about Dark World is in most decks you kind of need to draw your out eventually.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you can't guarantee to draw it. But in Dark World, you're basically guaranteed to draw it eventually if you play your turn for long enough.
If your opponent does not set up 6 negates and negates every single card that you are playing, then you are going to be able to draw into something eventually.
Well, Runic for Hire is limited, I think, in the number of negates it can put up compared to other kinds of decks. I think the real strength of Runic for Hire is in the follow-up that it produces. You know, you've drawn a bunch of cards, but they're kind of to be used for next turn, right? What can you use on your opponent's turn? You've got your 3 runic spells, I guess, Destruction, Freezing Curses, and Flashing Fire, and then a red, and then 1 pop.
The Destruction is actually really, really strong against Dark World, because those gates of the Dark World is kind of the key of the deck ever since 2000, I think, 13 or 12.
Ever since it was released, yeah.
Absolutely do agree. So, seems like we are going to resolve the Gigantic here. Just figuring out what to special summon out from our deck. Do we grab the Sprite Carrot, or do we want to go for something else here? Because Carrot would be one of those negate cards you were just talking about, and I think negating gates, as you just pointed out, is so strong, so I would really like having access to that for sure. On the other hand, we could also go for Sprite Jet maybe, because we haven't gone through Jet yet, and Jet then, in the end, also means Sprite Carrot, because we could grab the starter, and that would make it easy there too.
They're obviously just discussing something. We can see the time has stopped, so they're having some sort of discussion. I'm not exactly sure what, if Gabe's done anyone's done anything wrong, or I don't know if you guys saw anything that looked out of place.
Looked all good to me. Oh, there we are as well all of a sudden. But I mean, honestly, it's kind of tough. When I looked into the Runic for Hire Sprite deck, there are so many different things preventing the other stuff and so on, so you can somewhat get lost with the deck. But I would imagine that Gabriel Susi, the man that also piloted this deck to top 16 at his own nationals in France, he would know what he is doing, right? Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is the highest pressure tournament we have besides Worlds, but you're trying to get to Worlds with this tournament, so it is a lot that is on his shoulders here, so maybe he actually messed something up there.
There's a high pressure tournament, and it's obviously a feature match, and it's your first round that you have to win. It's all like, this is probably one of the highest pressure matches of the weekend.
For sure, I would agree.
Don't forget that we are all just humans, you know, we do make mistakes. I mean, some of us more than others, arguably, but it is just human to make mistakes. Sometimes you see those crazy players that are just topping every event, and you're kind of doubting that they are only human by the way they are playing, but after all, I'm pretty sure that
They must be,
They are.
right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be allowed to play in the tournament. I hope.
that is true. Can dogs register for a YCS? Or Euros?
Rex is pretty close, at least in the deck. There are some. Is it a dog?
Rex is a dinosaur.
It's a
he
but
can't
it's
be a dog.
It's a mixture of both? I don't know. I will give up on
He's
that.
definitely dinosaur type. That's
That's for sure. That's for sure.
If he wasn't, then
but
the deck wouldn't work.
Honestly, like, how high do we rate the chances of a Dark World deck now playing through a full for hire runic sprite field? Like, how likely is it? What does he need to do? Does he really need a kaiju, or is that not even enough? What do you think?
One interesting strategy, which is a hilarious strategy I find, but it is always a strategy against runics, is you can just pass your first turn, so you can do it with 7 cards rather than 6. Because realistically, is Gabriel going to set up more interruptions
Not
if
really,
you give him
right?
an extra turn? Like, I don't, it's a weird thing to say, but like having 7 cards might make that difference.
Yeah, also it's kind of even more nice versus the Runic for Hire Sprite deck, because they need Donpa to destroy something on the opponent's side of the field. And if you just don't put any cards to your side of the field, they just can't draw cards, because they can't activate the Runic cards to destroy a back row of destruction or something like that. And they can also just don't trigger the Donpa. So no draw 6 on the opponent's turn. What is the deck going to do then?
Yeah, with your extra monster zone, it's pretty much locked.
Yeah,
because Folgo can't be used as a link material. So yeah, it's very difficult to do anything.
It
Absolutely.
really looks like he's going to put out Sprite Red and Carrot on the first turn anyways, so there will be everything that he could. So we might actually see just a pass back, and then, yeah,
Potentially
play through the field with 7 cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2023.
Let's just pass here.
Yeah,
Pass.
but that's the thing. I mentioned it earlier, like, the kaiju is just a spot removal. You're getting rid of 1 card. Also, the Bigfoot, just 1 card you're going to get rid of there. So I don't know whether I like it that much versus this specific deck. Of course, a kaiju is amazing versus an Arisard or something like that, but versus a field where there's so many different cards, it's kind of rough. But it seems like we figured it out. Seems like Gabriel Susi has now summoned IP Masquerena.
But we're also seeing that Brice is, I think, running triple tactic talents.
I think that was a
It's very common to run just the one, because if you want to do your first turn, like loop, you draw through your whole deck kind of deal, then you can use that to get the 5th card out of your opponent's hand. 'Cause you can use silver twice to get 4, and then if you're really sadistic, then you use talents to take the 5th.
Oh, and now we're seeing Mothman being activated. Fantastic
Oh,
card
so it went over
there.
to Brice. Okay, let's see how he's doing here.
He's not doing the pass strategy. I'm very disappointed.
So Mothman, one of the dangers he's bringing, and Gabriel.
Oh.
It's a good start. It's an immediate +1, so Brice has more cards to play.
Yeah, that's actually nice. And also that makes him search out the Bigfoot here. And Bigfoot is like the one that can really play through the field.
Honestly, I'm really excited about this now, because I don't know exactly what's coming, you know?
No one knows what's coming. That's the dangers.
And it is the Bigfoot indeed.
It's getting dangerous out here for Gabriel, so he needs to pay attention to what Brice is doing there. We are seeing the Raphael.
There comes the effect of Rex. Of course, that is only a quick effect in the main phase, and therefore he had to wait for Brice to do something. And now Brice did something. Gabriel could use the Rex to bring out Raphael now. And Raphael actually will be able to reveal cards now again, but also, additionally, it is a monster negate, which is really good. Ooh, there's a runic card, I think. Gabriel likes seeing freezing curses there. That's a good hit off of the Raphael.
Yeah, there's so much going on here for Gabriel now. There's a pop, there's a draw, there's a search, and there's a monster negate. It's just...
This field is huge.
It feels like it was like he wasn't hesitating at all. He just waited for the first moth to enter the field, and he just immediately popped it. Maybe that was... I think I would have let him play a little bit more. Maybe there is a better time to pop something.
Yeah, interesting decision for sure. So, next danger is going to be revealed. I'm assuming it is the Bigfoot we just searched, and that is a Chupacabra.
Oh, that is also really good. We are getting 2 monsters on the field now. Mothman might as well just return. Maybe it's
2
also
for the price of 1, yeah.
Yes.
What's bigger? The Mothman's bigger, right? Has 1800
yeah,
attack.
that is true. Ha!
What?
I mean, Nessie is bigger, but...
But I think like we always want Mothman because we are playing Rank Force in our deck, so we have the ability to XYZ summon in this deck too, so it just seems a little bit more clever to pick the Mothman, and there he is.
Basti, how many dangers is he running?
Let me just quickly calculate some quick math here on my end. I see 2 Bigfoot, 2 Chupacabra, 3 Mothman, and 3 Nessie, and also the one-offs the Jackalope anti-Tsuchinoko. That is in total, quick math on my side, 12 dangers.
Oh, wow. Didn't you just tell me before that it was only like 6 or 7 at max?
Apparently it's not. Apparently I'm not as good of a Dark World player as Brice Dudelier is. Let's see what he... Oh, wait. Oh, there's also...
the Ascension.
Wow.
I love this card.
That's really cool. And that's also an immediate interruption onto the runic cards now. Because whenever Gabriel now tries to activate the freezing curses he just grabbed, there it is. We might be able... Oh, wait, no.
No, it only negates the normal spell effects.
Oh, it's only normal spells and traps. So we can't respond to quick spells. That's kind of annoying.
Did we catch what was discarded for Ascension? It has to be one of the Graphas, right? Or does it have to be exactly the original
Snow.
Grapha?
I think it's Snow, actually.
Oh, it can be any Dark World?
There's a Snow in the graveyard, that's for sure.
It's Grapha plus 1 Dark Monster. So if there is Snow in the graveyard, then there should also be...
There should be a Grapha somewhere.
There was Gates being banished. That's not too cool.
I think Brice will be okay, because he's got 3 gates.
I think that Gabriel is picking up the Fountain in his on his field, or he tried to at least, so maybe there was a Grapha discard that popped the Fountain. Yeah.
And then that forced him basically to chain the freezing curses there. And honestly, that's kind of good now for Brice, because that means no more runic spell cards from the hand now for the rest of the turn for Gabriel Susi. So Brice already with 3 pretty powerful monsters there on the field. Maybe he's going to be able to crack this.
Yeah, is this an enter battle phase moment?
He's not done yet. He is.
He's not done. He's still going.
He still has the chance to search out the gate here. That is indeed Genta.
One of the best ways sometimes to like force out or get through a sprite board is just to use your battle phase, because all of the negates are with monster effects, and the IP itself obviously can only be used during
also
the main
like
phase
sometimes
as well.
it's kind of cool to just announce battle phase, and then your opponent has to consider to activate the IP Masquerade, and then you're still fine to stay in main phase basically.
Like, psych, I'm going to carry on in the main phase.
But there it is. We are going for IP Masquerade as a fact here, and it's going to bring out the Unicorn. Okay, I think we're immediately going after the gates, right? Discarding another Dark Ruler. He drew a lot of Dark Rulers there, and yes, indeed, the gate immediately is going to be shuffled back to the deck. As Leonard was mentioning earlier, that is really the heart and soul of the deck. You need gates of a Dark World to really do a whole lot. There's another one, though. Okay, okay.
Do you think that Gabriel has another runic card set? Because I really would have liked that.
It could possibly be a starter as well.
I think at that point we would have probably activated the starter, though. Because we know there's no evenly now, there's no Dark Rulers, so I think it's safe to activate starter into Carrot at this point. And you could have prevented the activation of the field spell.
So what does that mean we think his set card is?
It's kind of interesting. Maybe it's a bluff. Maybe it's just another Dark Ruler no more. Maybe just another Dark Ruler no more.
Is he running Mayhem?
I don't think he is, to be honest, but let me double check.
We've already seen like 2 copies of Dark Ruler discarded, so it would be quite impressive if that was the 3rd one.
There's no Mayhem, though. There is starter, but as we're breaking down, it's unlikely to be starter. And honestly, Brice is putting more and more attack points onto the field. Is he really going to be able to break this here?
I love this interaction. You can banish the Genta with the gates, then special summon back the Genta, return that one to the hand with Rainbow Overking, which he just discarded earlier.
Yes.
And then he can bounce this one back to summon out the Grapha. And this is just so much plus. This is absolutely crazy.
It's great.
Yeah. Brice just saying, thank you very much for shuffling into my deck. I'll just get it again.
There it is. 1 moment ago it was back to the deck, but here we are back onto the field. We are using it again. Of course, this is not once per turn. It's only once per copy. But of course, there's the handy occasion of having a second copy there.
Yeah, the Dark World's an old enough archetype that they were sort of printed before all of the cards. Like most modern cards say you can only use the effect of this monster once per turn, but the Dark Worlds are quite old and a lot of them can just be used as many times. Genta can only be summoned once per turn, but other than that...
Rainbow also adds, I think, multiple times per turn.
And now there's a beautiful ultimate rare Allure of Darkness being activated. So as we were saying, this deck can just basically draw through the entire deck on its turn, and he's not done yet. He's far away from being done, to be honest.
Gabriel looking very light on interruptions as well.
I mean, absolutely.
I was going to say he's not used Sprite Red, but he doesn't have any rank 2s or level 2s left.
But let's go back a moment. Did he end up picking the Nibiru? because we saw him revealing Nibiru, but did he end up picking it? Because that might still be a very, very huge factor for this game here.
Yeah, he definitely picked the Nibiru.
Okay, so that is something that Brice has to be afraid of still. But there's another Bigfoot on the field.
That is unfortunate.
That feels like it's gone wrong, yeah.
The silver discard is not going to do anything now because the field is full already.
Do we think this is a Nibiru moment?
I mean, it might be just the battle phase announcement, and there it is, Nibiru tributing so many. I don't know when I've ever seen a Nibiru tributing so many monsters, because it's not only on the opponent's side but also on his own side of the field.
This is going to be the largest token that maybe this lends some credence as we were trying to suss out what Gabriel's set card is. It might be the case that it was a starter and he wanted to hold it until he'd used his Nibiru.
True, because you don't really need the carrot, but you just go for the Nibiru, and then afterwards you have follow-up with starter.
And we are going to see the Gruffer again, because the Gruffer Dragon
It is indeed the starter, and you waited for it, and now he got extra value out of it because Brice tried to destroy it, and he could just easily chain it, so he even forced out another card from the hand of Brice. That's really strong here.
What I don't think there is anything in the extra deck, but I love the idea that there might just be some card in your extra deck that lets you just switch your monster to attack mode and attack with that. I don't know how many millions of attack points that token probably has.
We are grabbing the Jet. The only thing that I'm worried about is, yes, we did get our Sprite engine going again, but in those hybrid decks where you are playing Runic for higher Sprite, the Sprite part of the deck actually is so small that it's not really even proper follow-up, because like, there's one spell card in the deck, and that is Sprite Start, and that has just been activated. So what do we even do with the Sprite Jet that we just searched, right?
Is that no way? That is card destruction, the most powerful spell card for any Dark World deck. And was that just a discard one?
That looked like a one discard, and I think he's already used Nessie as well.
Oh, yes, he did, but now he can use Accession again and add it back to hand.
I don't know the full effects of Ascension. I know that you can use it to fusion summon. I don't know when it adds itself back.
I think if you let me just get it up for you guys.
We're all learning again together. Also, funnily enough, the Ascension is a one-off in the deck of Brice.
Oh, okay, so he needed a Dark World monster to discard, which he must have drawn off the... Okay.
So...
Oh no, he has multiple cards on hand.
Yeah, one is the Ascension.
That is a good point.
And one...
Oh, and we're tribute summoning the Silver over the token. And there comes the Rainbow. And it goes back to hand immediately, bringing out another Gruffer.
Is there a cool rank 8 Exceeds monster?
There is a very cool rank 8 that requires 3 level 8s that draws you 3 cards from the top of your deck. But I don't know what he runs that takes 2.
He only plays the Coach King Giant Trainer. That's his only rank 8 Exceed monster.
Going for Muckracker, and Muckracker, it feels like it was designed for the Dark Worlds, because yes, you are discarding a card in the process, but it is not for cost.
This is probably one of the times, like, newer players, when you're learning how to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, you're like, what is the difference? Why is this cost or effect thing?
Yeah.
Why do these cards not work when I discard it for a...
But, like, seriously, I think Gabriel picked a pretty good timing for his Nibiru. But now Brice is just not done yet. He just recovers, and he again has 3 cards in hand. This looks amazing. I think Brice might still be able to go through all of this here.
He's absolutely nowhere near done.
Cerberus for a draw.
There is a Coaling Cerberus. Discard Ascension, getting rid of the Nibiru and even drawing a card now.
But,
wow.
I mean, we're getting all excited about what Brice is doing. Gabriel still probably has 5 or 6 cards in his hand.
I think it was only 3. I was kind of surprised, but it was. I mean, it was
just
so
many.
Yeah, but it was just revealed by the card destruction. I think it was only 3 cards.
Oh, now Chupacabra is revealed. I think we have 2 Dark Worlds in hand and only 1 Chupacabra. Chupacabra was used already.
No, it is with Chupacabra.
No, this one was used earlier. I think it was the 2nd discard of Brice. This was really important. Now, the question is, can we overlay 2 of the Link 2 monsters now for a Gigantic Sprite and go into a full Melfi Sprite combo?
That would be great fun if Muckracker unfortunately locks you into Fiend monsters.
That is a good point.
But, yeah.
It's quite handy that Nightmare Cerberus is also a Fiend monster, though. That's kind of nice.
It's very cool, all of the Nightmares of Fiends, yeah.
Gabriel's turn again. He did survive this. It looked quite grim at some point, but that Chupacabra hit was really good for him.
Because if he hit a Silver or a Rainbow Overlord, then that would have been another 2 bodies plus another draw on the field.
And a few cards in hand.
Yeah.
Like, you get to add both of the Dark Worlds back every time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that was huge.
So, Gabriel activating the Fountain, bringing out the Gary, even being able to chain block the fountain here. So we are going to add back the... I'm just completely going to ignore that, Leo. You know that. And looks like we're going to target the fountain in the graveyard and then also free runic quick plays in the graveyard too. So that's going to be a lot of advantage that Gabriel immediately, with the resolve of that one runic spell, is going to get.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to see a very similar field to what we saw at the end of Gabriel's first turn, to be honest.
Not too unlikely. Normal summon Rex.
I think if that Chupacabra did not get discarded here for its own effect, we could have seen an OTK.
But he did draw the Sprite Carrot, so there's no more card to be searched off of the Sprite Blue, at least. It's not much, but there's something working for Brice right now.
Looking for some silver linings there.
Yes, and the thing is, I think we're about to see Donner onto the field very shortly, and Donner will be able to revive the Donpa from the graveyard, which is amazing. Oh, not only the Donpa, but also the Folgo.
Yeah. It can revive whatever it wants.
Get him a lot of Folgo up.
There is the Donpa, but probably also...
And then the Folgo, and then you get a pop and a draw 3, and here we go again.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Doesn't sound too bad at all.
Absolutely not. We're going after the field spell. Folgo is going to trigger. Just going to casually again draw 3 cards. That is what this deck does.
It's drawn a full 7 cards already this turn. We need a little counter. 1 for turn, 3 for Fountain, and 3 for...
Feels nice.
3 for Folgo. Maybe he'll play the second Fountain and draw another 3. I don't know how many cards are in his grave.
If he's playing, if Brice is playing the magical Stone Rejuvenation, the one that adds spell cards back, if you discard 2, then he could go for another card destruction.
You want to deck him out with
maybe deck out Gabriel.
Oh, but first of all, we're going to banish 3 here.
Deck out the runic deck.
Yes.
So, but both players now apparently going for the deck out strategy because Gabriel is not going to be able to attack this turn either. And that is the 3rd runic monster from the extra deck being summoned. So in the extra deck of Gabriel, there's no more runic monsters now.
Honestly, that doesn't even sound like too bad of a strategy. You're not going to attack anytime soon. The field that Brice put out does not look threatening. You have another Nibiru in hand, and your opponent just went through 20 cards, probably with drawings. Oh, Mannequin Cat. Let's see what that is going to summon back for Brice. And maybe that is going to be a problem for Gabriel, because he might summon back something really good.
It is just with Chupacabra.
I think Chupacabra is Gabriel's favorite at the moment, being the danger that missed.
Yeah, he goes for the Cerberus. And what I like about the Mannequin Cat is that it's not only going to summon from the deck, but also it's able to summon from the graveyard. And he was just doing that by summoning out the Donner. So Mannequin Cat is, in this deck specifically, so much more universal. It can do so many different things. I really like the card. And there we see there's Access Code Talker also in the deck of Gabriel.
I'm amazed. It's so funny to see Access Code Talker when it can't attack. Like, what is this card doing when it can't attack?
That's true.
How many different attribute link monsters does Gabriel have?
So there was Donner. That's 1.
Donner is Earth.
Unicorn.
Unicorn is Dark, and
but
I
they
think
also
Folgo
protected.
is Dark
Cerberus
as
is
well.
co-linked.
But there was a freezing curse being activated early on the turn, and I would assume that was used on the Cerberus.
Yeah.
There's also another protection effect.
Oh, and there's
with the
Tip now
Muckraker.
as well.
That's another card going down the drain for Brice.
But yeah, true. Absolutely correct. Muckraker also being able to protect.
That one talent is pretty devastating, actually, because drawing that would let you take the Access Code Talker, for example.
That would have been huge. I mean, you don't have any link monsters in your graveyard, do you? Oh, wait, you do.
There's one on top.
True. You're right.
The turn was passed now. I think Brice drew a card. Okay, so he drew a card for... Oh no, maybe that is...
And then the
There's
Flashing Fire on the
Sephiroth.
Muckraker. Muckraker doesn't have an effect when it's destroyed or anything like that, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Why did Brice draw a card?
For his turn.
Probably is his
So
turn, yeah.
he just immediately Flashing Fire. It makes sense because Muckraker is not a summon effect.
Yeah.
So we see actually a pretty cool card in the hand of Brice, and it's Salamander Catalyzer, but that's a card that requires you to have other cards in your hand. It doesn't work on its own, so he would need some other Dark Worlds, but we know from last turn that there are Dark Worlds in his hand, so that might actually be a pretty decent pickup.
And
so let's see what Brice can do with this here.
The Ascension being a free discard is an excellent start as well.
Oh yeah. Let's get that silver onto the field.
Actually, the Dark World deck has a lot of resources just in the graveyard. This could become really good here.
How many Graphas are there?
Oh, but
Excluding the fusion.
20 at least.
Rex summoning out the Rafale again. And Donpa trying to destroy the Silva.
We are just popping the first card that we were seeing as Gabriel.
Yeah.
I don't hate that because Dark World, they just do so. I feel like all of the monsters are quite malleable. Like they're all, once the monsters are on the field, they're pretty much just link materials.
Revealing Tip with a Fall feels so special, feels so good, because it basically reveals any runic card from your deck, and also you will be able to draw additional cards with Fountain because you have one more runic spell in your graveyard. That's just so free.
And a bonus banish.
The only problem is
everything.
The only problem is if Brice discards a Grapha and targets the Fountain, then you can chain Tip, but you can't chain the card that you're searching of.
Fair, I like that. Maybe we just immediately go for Tip here, to be honest. Just making sure to get the Freezing Curses or something.
Oh, he passed, I think.
Yeah, that was a pass, yeah.
I mean, that is what you said earlier was really smart. However, Brice has very few cards in his deck.
Yeah, at this point, it's
we are counting.
too late.
We are counting because there's End Phase, Slumber, and that means 3 more cards are going to be banished. We see the Radiant. We talked about it earlier. There are Kaijus in the main deck of Brice, but at that point, Gabriel is not going to have a battle phase again, so he is probably just going for the deck out strategy here.
I like the passing strategy when your opponent hasn't already drawn 6 cards on your turn.
Fair.
I like it less when your opponent's already drawn their 6 cards.
But was there nothing else for him to play with? He had the Catalyzer and I think Rainbow Overlord, right?
There should be a Rainbow in his hand, yeah.
And a Session.
Yeah.
Essentially, he's already. It looks like he's only running 1 of the Dark World Fusion in his extra deck, so
yeah, that's true.
the Ascension is less useful now. Although he does have the Catalyzer.
So, Gabriel now trying to figure out what he's going to add to his field. He apparently has a lot of runic spells there, and he's just going to set a bunch of them because he has too many cards in hand. He can't keep them all in hand, and therefore he has to actually set a bunch of them.
Harpy's Feather Duster, come on now.
I hate to break it to you, but there is no Harpy's Feather Duster in his deck, so...
I just don't believe you now.
Maybe Upstart Goblin, though. There's Upstart Goblin if you like that.
That works as well. It's a normal spell.
I love Upstart Goblin.
Oh, and
we're picking up the deck on Brice's side. That was a little too much runic for hire for his likings.
Yep. It really looked like he could push through. Yeah. I was really getting excited on whether he could actually play through his going second.
Yeah, exactly. The one Chupa right at the end.
That was so unfortunate. I mean, because he did not only play really well into the field, but also he then got Nibiru'd and he still kept on going. Like, that was extraordinary.
It was really impressive.
And then he just got a little bit unlucky at the end, as we were just saying. But I may have to side with you now, Leo. It seems like Dark World actually is decent going second, even just with Engine.
Yeah, I got this opinion about the deck because I got crushed by also a participant, Ben Kreuzkamp, before he was testing out the deck and he was playing versus me, and I really didn't like going first, so I let him start at some point, and then I won. Then I won games.
That is a strategy. It's quite funny though. I like it. We really enjoyed watching his going. So I've heard players say this a lot. It's like, oh, you know, I played a lot, I had a great time, I think it's really good going second. Then they say, how many did you win though?
I don't know whether Brice really had a good time there either, to be honest. Yeah, we had a good time, but Brice now being down 1 game to Gabriel Susi, somebody with so much experience too, so somebody you really don't want to be 1 game down against because he knows how to capitalize on that, he knows how to play it down now. It's rough for him.
That is the beauty of this tournament because there is not a single player you want to be... I mean, actually, you never want to be down 0-1. Let's say it like that. But there is not a single player in this tournament that isn't absolutely able to defeat you once they have a small lead.
That is true. For them, it's kind of harsh too, though, because it's France versus France. Yeah. So basically, they are lowering the chances of sending someone from France to the World Championship now. Yeah. I mean, they still can get their spots in the main event, of course, because it's 3 spots from this playoff now, and then there will be 4 spots being given out in the main event too. So it could still be all French players.
Do you think if you were playing in this, you'd have country loyalty? I feel like if I was in this, I'd be in it to win it. You know, if I played another English person, I would not have any qualms about trying to win.
It's cool though, traveling to the World Championship, to Japan, as we said earlier, together with somebody from your country. It's extra special, isn't it? Of course, like, it's a 1v1 tournament. You play Yu-Gi-Oh! In a game 1v1, but enjoying it together with your friends, I I think we can agree on that, is even more fun.
But that's
sure.
the beauty of the game, because there is such a big international community. Everybody comes to these events, meeting their friends from all over the world, from so many different countries, and just seeing all of those guys that you don't usually see in your real life is also pretty nice. So I wouldn't mind going to Japan with other friends from other countries.
Yeah. But I don't mind getting into Game 2 now, because
Oh,
players
good
are
one.
ready, so let's get into the action. Let's see what Game 2 brings here. Here we have them, and I think Brice is very likely to start here, to be honest.
Brice is not going to take
Okay.
Leo's advice of going second with Darkworld.
We start off with Nessie, and I think now we just want to summon that Nessie to the field. Yes, okay, there's Super Cabra. That's not the best card to discard there, though.
But he can't use the effect.
Oh,
wow!
and there's Droll and Lockbird.
Lockbird, I did not see this one coming. Will there be the one-off triple tactic talents now looking at the hand of Gabriel?
Wow.
No, we are going to see...
Honestly, I think
Yes.
Triple
Oh, that's
Tactic
the
Talents might even be a card you side out versus Runic for Hire spread, because that is a deck that is known to play
No, that was a
evenly
pass.
Dark Ruler
Yeah.
no more. Is it a pass? Oh
That was a
my.
pass.
Oh my. Runic Destruction on the side of Gabriel Sousa now to special summon out the Hagen.
I mean, you usually don't know if that was a pass because Gabriel draws so many cards on either turn, but this time, yeah, no cards
Oh, and
played.
he's discarding a Rex. That probably means he's got another Rex or a way to play the game, for sure.
Oh, and Runic
This can't
tip
be
too.
feeling good for Brice here. Although, the silver lining, he's definitely going to get at least one more turn.
Yeah, we always got to be positive, so we are banishing the Danger Mothman here.
And I think that was a flashing fire, which would mean if you have the fountain that you searched off of Hugin, you can just activate it, go for flashing fire, and then draw 3 cards. Search 3 cards.
And again, we do have access to our Sprite Engine too, specialing out the blue, searching out the red. Interesting, to be honest. Usually, you will always rather search out Jet with the Sprite Blue, but in this version of the deck, as he did in Game 1, you just grab the Sprite Red instead. And there again is the Fossil Dig, so we do indeed have access to the Rex again.
It might be worth being cognizant of the life point situation. I mean, I know there's 18 minutes, but Gabriel can't attack on its first turn. And obviously playing the starter means you lose some life points. And you don't necessarily want to be putting yourself down on life points if you don't think you need to in this sort of situation.
Yeah. I mean, we just sided in the Droll and Lockbird, and I think the Sprite Starter might, to be honest, be a card that you side out going second in this matchup here.
Did you expect to see Drone Lockbirds this tournament?
No, absolutely not. I'm really interested by that decision of Gabriel Sousa too. It works out perfectly well here in this Game 1, or in this Match 1 in Round 1. Oh, we have Nibiru again. Oh,
And
boy.
we didn't even take the Nibiru.
Oh, we didn't?
He took Freezing Curses.
Oh, interesting.
I want to say, I cheated and I saw it was in Gabriel's side deck, so it was. But in the tournament.
Oh, but speaking about life points, there is the good old Moon and the Runic Wings being summoned out. And every end phase, this one is going to give us 1,000 life points.
If it stays on the field.
Yeah, I can't
Yes.
imagine it staying on the field for very long.
That's a fair assumption.
If you
There
want
are
to
a
use
couple
any
of
link monsters.
good link monsters we have
Yeah.
in our extra deck. And yes, immediately it's going to leave the field.
But it was a good guess, Basti.
So, oh, we're linking away
it's
the Rafale.
Just got to make sure he gets all of his types correct. His Folgo has to summon something with a different type than the link materials that he used, so always worth checking that you're not trying to summon the wrong thing. I know all of the Fahires have different types, and I know that Rex is a dinosaur because you search it with Fossil Dig, but other than that, I wouldn't want to guess.
So again, bringing out the gigantic Sprite. This time, is it going to be the Sprite Carrot, or what are we bringing out here?
Are we going to see the good old Carotte here? No, it is Jet.
Okay, so we do have a spell in there, and that has to be Sprite Starter. Okay. But as you said, that's dangerous. If you want to activate that starter, that means you are going down in life points.
IP enters the field as well. This is looking grim for Brice so far. He is smiling there, but it does not really look like there's too much he could do. We are now going
there
to
is a monster on the field, so Folgo will be able to draw 3 cards here again.
Absolutely crazy card, Folgo.
Guys, I have been looking forward to this tournament for weeks now, and honestly, this is not disappointing me. The absolute dominance of Gabriel Soucy with the Runic for Hire deck is impressive, but what Brice did in Game 1 was also top-notch gameplay.
Absolutely, 100%. So Gabriel, interestingly enough now, going second, basically just made his going first field, right? He was like, no, you're not going to do that because of Droll and Lockbird, but I'm going to do what I would have done going first. Oh, and he does decide to activate the Sprite Starter right away to bring Carrot onto the field as well.
It is such a big disadvantage when you're going second and you break your opponent's field, because you know, I have this big field of so many monsters and you probably did not side in any field breaking cards. No Dark Ruler, no Mors, no Nibiru's or something, which does not really break fields anymore once you have established them. However, this is such a secure position for Gabriel now. The only good thing that Brice has going for him is that those... Okay, the Catalyzer is banished for Tip. The thing that Brice has going for him is that the engine is so good going second. Let's see if he finds his way into it here.
Ooh, we start off with a Lure of Darkness. And Gabriel deciding on whether immediately he's going to negate that, and yes, he does.
Ooh.
He uses the Carrot. That's honestly quite interesting to me. It seems like Gabriel just immediately always wants to go after the first card. He always just went to destroy the first card. He always just negates the first card here too with the Carrot.
There is a reasoning for that, and I like it quite a lot. Okay, so Radiant comes down. Very good for the Folgo. If your opponent is running Dangers and you negate so many different cards in hand, then you higher the chances that you're hitting the Dangers.
And... oh, we do discard with Silva, though, for the Nassi. Nassi comes onto the field. We draw one more card. Silva is being activated.
Silva is fine, apparently.
I do agree with you. Once Darkworld reaches a critical massive card, it just seems to go forever.
Yeah.
So just if you can just delete a few of their cards at the beginning as efficiently as possible, then...
And he does that again. There's not much that is super good on the field of Brice, but still we're just going after it.
But you really want to get rid of this Silva, because if there is a Rainbow in hand that could be discarded later on, it would really hurt you if the Silva was in play. So it makes sense to especially shuffle it back. Not destroy it, but shuffle it back. Very well played.
And there comes Rex now. Rex is going to special summon out the Rafale. So we do have, if we have another for hire card in our hand, we do have another negate with Rafale too.
Rex is just such an insane card. It really ties the deck together, doesn't it?
Yes. It being a level 2 is so crazy. Oh, there's...
Tip was activated already this turn.
Yes,
keep that in mind.
It was. So, Gabriel just having an answer to everything that Brice is trying to do here. Oh, and that's not a good sign for a Darkworld deck when you have to set one to your back row and pass it over to your opponent.
Well, what cards did Darkworld set?
A Session.
I mean, it is a quick play spell, but
it might be
why would you set it?
Book of Eclipse, potentially. That's one of the cards he sides in.
To me, it just seems very strange to put a card on the field where it can be destroyed. Whereas if it's in, in your hand, it can't be destroyed. I mean, one of the things you can do against the Runic deck is just take your time and, you know, maybe wait until they use one Runic spell and then go, okay, I'll pass them. And then they've skipped their next battle phase. But I feel like if you throw your whole hand, then you're not going to be able to employ that strategy for very long, and Brice doesn't look like he's got that many resources left.
Ooh, and I think Gabriel already announced the effect of Access Code Talker, so there's no chance for Brice to chain the Called by the Grave that he set there.
No ring here.
I think I would have liked Called by the Grave maybe in the draw phase immediately on the Rex or something on his own turn already. That could have taken care of some stuff, but that didn't work out so well for him here.
Now Tip was activated. We are shuffling back, or putting two cards under the deck rather. Gabriel can't even help himself. Can he even hold all of those cards in his hand?
He's counting. Oh yes, discard. I think it's a little much. I think we have to get rid of one card in our hand. Oh, is it even two? He even has to discard two cards, Fossil Dig and Flashing Fire.
8 cards. Are you mental?
He just says, oh no, I'll just discard this. We're just going to let me draw another card next turn. Don't worry about it.
So, what can Brice do against all of that? He's just passing it over, and Gabriel now has the Access Code Talker still on the field, and it has 5,300 attack points. So, I think this might be a turn where we see a Runic deck attacking. I know it's crazy, but there are a lot of cards in attack position now.
Folks.
Is
runic
this
deck
really
attacking.
happening? Access code is pushed forward. This means I'm attacking the handshake. Brice loses to Gabriel. Gabriel remains with big chances in this top 32 playoff.
Yes, this man has been to the World Championship before, and apparently he liked it because he is trying very hard to go there again. He wins round 1 here. Of course, it's still a long way, 4 more rounds of Swiss, also top 4 then, where you also have to somehow win 1 game at least. But yeah, he's onto a good start, let's be honest.
I really enjoyed that match. I don't know about you guys. Like, there was such a long back and forth. I mean, it was a shame the second game was. I feel like the draw and lock bird was extremely decisive.
But let's talk about that card again, because Leo was really surprised by it, and honestly I was as well, because in such a small field of players, 32 players only, you kind of could guess what all the players are on, and then you bring Droll and Lockbird. Like, how do you like the decision? You were surprised, but do you like it? In this particular case, it was amazing. I mean, but in general?
If you expect a lot of Runic Live Twin Sprite, sometimes the card is not really good because there's already a fountain established and you can just draw in the draw phase if you try to play around it. If it catches you off guard, it is really, really strong. If you don't immediately start your turn with tip, it is really strong. Sometimes you just go for a physical draw first before you use the fountain, probably, and then Lockbird can actually prevent your opponent from getting too much advantage in the mirror match.
Fair enough,
I agree. And one of the interesting things is the when you're playing the live twin deck, you can't really summon Hugin in the draw phase like you would in the for hire version, because you can't put a monster on your field before you've normal summoned. So it's good. There's also the Flounderies deck that I think Droll is quite handy against. Yeah, we saw a surprising number of those being submitted. So
there are a lot of those.
Maybe that's what it's for.
I think the Italians just have never stopped playing Flounderies. like they love the deck, and a lot of them are again bringing it to this playoff. So we might as well see Flounderies going to Worlds this time, and then having Droll and Lockbird in your side deck certainly is a good decision. Very, very, very good.
Absolutely. So I think that concludes our first round of Swiss of the 32 players playoff that we are having for Worlds at this Euros. We are going to be back with more live coverage soon. Stay tuned, guys.